Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I'm a second career registered nurse focused in advanced illness, primarily those that would qualify for either palliative care or hospice care. Those are two separate services. I am a certified end-of-life doula through the International Doula Life Movement and an educator on end-of-life topics. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit. In this channel, we talk about issues related to death and dying. After all, we are all going to die. And studies show that those who have prepared for a good death, we're not talking suicide, we're just talking proper planning. Not just your funeral preparations, but what about when you can't speak for yourself? Really going in depth for how do you want to spend your last 1 to 2 years of life. Don't wait until the last 6 months or the last few hours or days. We'll have videos for my fellow hospice and palliative care nurses, for holistic nurses, for caregivers and family members. If these are the type of discussions you like to see with an occasional gardening video, or I'll have a video about using Canva or Perplexity or other tools to help me as a running an RN concierge service business and an end-of-life doula business combined, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification. I'm trying to publish at least 3 times a week, and like the video because it does help small channels like mine get the message out there for those who might be interested. The topic for today's video is going to be for my fellow end-of-life doulas, especially those who are working with advanced care planning, and portions of this may apply to your general practice as well. Before we go into the topic for today's video, I want to ask the question, what are you grateful for? I believe that resilience is the ability to snap back when we're smacked in the face with life events. Whether it's we have a loved one that we lost, a pet, to me, pets are like family members that we lose, or something just didn't go our way. Life happens, and if we don't have resilience, it's easy to circle the drain, go down depression, and go to very dark places. I've been there. To me, there are 3 pillars. We focus on the third pillar here in this channel. What are you grateful for? So for me, what I'm grateful for is several things. I did a free community presentation at the Madison County Library in Berea, Kentucky on Wednesday, September 3rd. And even though and I'm smiling, I only had one person show up, it was a learning experience. So I'm grateful for learning. And this person did enjoy the presentation. And so for me, that was a win. This goes back to the free will clinic that I participated in on Monday, August 18th. 33 wills were done. I spoke to maybe a half a dozen people, but I got 3 leads. One's very warm. I was supposed to be meeting with that one very warm link the date of this filming, but we ended up rescheduling. There were some life events on that person's end, and you need to roll with resistance in any field. Life comes first, and it's their life that comes first. And by the way, that's a learning point if that's something that you're not yet aware of. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for those buying my books. I'm grateful for Anna Adams. She's the founder of the International Life Movement. She introduced me to Cohort 26. I graduated from 25, and she allowed me to share my link to my Bridges to Eternity book series for end-of-life doulas, as well as my overall author page for all the different books. I don't know what comes of those things. That's in God's hands and each individual person's hands for what they're going to choose to do with those links. But it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. So getting into today's topic, I want to talk about if you're doing living wills, what would a client packet look like? And I need to give you the fine print that while I've participated in helping with living wills, in the past I've done so as a registered nurse working with the social worker. I've done a lot of education on POLST, Physician's Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment. Kentucky has the MOST, which I believe is medical orders for, and I guess the L is silent, life-sustaining treatments. But I've had cases where the social worker came to me because Medicare does allow for somebody to be full code on hospice. Peter, you know we're going to be in a nightmare if this person is still full code when they die. And as a side note, it is a nightmare event for the family and everything else, because especially home patients, because they call us and we're saying you're full code, you're the ones doing CPR. We're not EMS, so we can't speed out there. Call 911. It's a mess. So they would typically ask me to go in and um, I don't know what analogy to use. You may have heard the term rainmakers. What comes to mind? That's not that I rain money, but I typically have a solid track record of educating people on code status and having them pick the best. Like in the end, they make their own decision. I don't have a 100% track record. Certain cultures are, this is what they're doing, and you go with the flow, just like I mentioned with the, real life takes over, so to speak. So, but that's the extent. So when I go over today talking about what's in a good customer packet for a living will, it's with a grain of salt that I am a work in progress for doing this as a doula. But in terms of talking to others who have been doing this, they have validated the direction I'm taking. And I'd like to share that with you because what I'm finding out is that even though end of life doula is also known as death doula, as I like the word life transition coach or life transition support guide, because we're the entire life spectrum. We are not just there for the last weeks of life. We're there for the whole spectrum from 18 forward if we're engaged. So here in terms of talking to different people, and the doulas have been out there. Anna's been doing this for, I think she said 23, going on 24 years. Imagine somebody that's been in the doula business 20 to 30 years. And yet, with all of that going on, and it's not just Anna, there's not a lot of toolkits out there. There are books. I have 6, and there's other books out there beyond mine. But in terms of like small tidbits, like what's in a customer packet, what does a presentation look like? There's not a lot. And so I was very grateful, for example, with Casey March, when I saw her presentation on YouTube and I modeled mine after hers. I made changes because I don't like copycatting. And I'm going to show you a thing in my folder that it was like, I wonder if I could do a different way like this, but I felt it would be copycatting. So I'll show you that when I get to it. But anyway, moving forward, before I prolong, there's not a lot of information out there for doulas, and I'm hoping to change that by providing free information when able um, and go from there. So I like orange for being catchy, and it goes with my logo. So those are just Avery shipping labels. And that was very easy to set up. The actual design was done in Canva. And then I just copy and paste because Avery gives you like, actually I shouldn't say copy and paste. I download it as a PNG and then you could upload it over. So, you know, that came out nice. Now, granted, I'm biased. And then on the inside, once more, and then on the other side, I stick my business card. And in terms of going through this, please bear with me. On the left side, which is the least full, where the business card is, I thought it would be a good fit. You know, here's my brochure. I have 3 different ones. It's not getting in focus. Okay. I'm so sorry. That's taking. Oh my word. Sorry. Okay, that's better focus. Okay, sorry about that. For better or worse. So that's one of my families. That even though she's an RN, she runs a wound care education company. But I took care of that. I could state this. When a family member discloses information, they're setting the stage for what HIPAA applies or not. And they named me in the obituary, and they were so happy with the care that I provided. So that this is my what I call my senior care brochure. Let me just come back a little bit. So that's my senior care brochure. I am not an expert in brochure creation. I just want to put that out there. But one of the lessons that I've learned from working with others is less is more. Less is more, because I've seen cases where the brochure, everything's overloaded. In fact, um, I'm having a new business card design. So those of you know, this is my, all right, focus on my word. Sorry. There we go. Sorry about and then this is on the back end. And what I've changed on the new design, I kept advanced care planning, but I put illness navigation for the second, staff development for the third, and then grief coaching for the last item, just keeping it very concise. I will be a certified grief coach. I'm taking Lindy, Lind, um, and I believe her last name is Carter, grief coaching course through the International Life Movement. It's September 8th through December 15th. There's still time to sign up for that, or take that back. I'm publishing this video most likely after the 8th. So, but I'll include a link to her course. But I have my brochure. You saw that I have the business cards. Then one of the handouts I made for the Berea event is I made an at-peace end-of-life preparation toolkit. It's an 8-page but 4-page back and front handout for like how to set up your medical ID, whether iPhone or Android. It goes into tidbits on advanced directives, wallet template, administrative organization, financial areas, conversation starters, the circles of care, some closing thoughts. I have the infographic, one side, what is an end of life doula? That's also at the circles of care. And then a handout for a quick reference guide. Again, this was for the Berea event. But even for living wills, I think this is a good thing for them to know, and also allows them to put in different contact information. And I was tempted to pre-fill my name in for the end of life doula, but I tell people, and everybody watching here too, I am the worst salesperson in the world, but I believe in freedom, medical freedom, freedom for who they pick. I do believe I have an edge because of being my registered nursing background and heavy in all different types of end of life illnesses. But one of the YouTube channels out there, I apologize, I don't remember the name of the lady who does this, but she has a taboo education. So I'll put her YouTube channel in the link. But she did I didn't print out every page. I was trying to save on ink, even though I have one of those ink tanks. But she has a document over what to do when somebody dies, the planning. Like, people forget about their pets and other things. So she did a very good job on this. This is the one where it was like, I actually had Perplexity grab all the text And I'm thinking of redoing this in my own way, so I'm not taking away from her copyright, but it's like, she did such a good job with this. I'm not going to try to copycat. I think I shared with you I'm not a fan of copycatting. I do believe there's a time where copying shows that you really like the person or what they're doing, but I'd rather give credit where credit is due. So on the other side, and the first thing I want to show you is something that if you're working with patients, I shouldn't say patients, clients, whatever phrase you want to use. I'm a big believer in checklists. I'm a to-do person. I use Todoist. I actually happen to have the paid version. I have Notion.so, the paid version, where I use for note taking, wiki type work, and so on. But you want to make sure that you're capturing everything that's involved. And if you're going to offer a service of doing a living will that is beyond what a lawyer can do. So most attorneys out there that offer living wills as part of what their service offering, and many of them do as it relates to last will and testaments or creation of a trust, they will do the basic version for whatever state you're in. The basic. Most of them will not explore your values and your wishes. They will have a checklist too, but it will be basic. Do you want to be intubated or not? Do you want to have received CPR or not? Do you want a feeding tube or not? And while all of those are crucial questions, they most likely will not ask you about your thoughts on dialysis, whether it's regular dialysis, which is hemodialysis, or peritoneal dialysis. For how long? Most of them don't even know that there's such a thing as dementia directives. VSED directives for voluntarily stopping eating and drinking, or directives for mental illness saying that you might be okay with electroconvulsive therapy, but here's a laundry list of psychotic medications you never want to be given. There's directives for that. And if they're properly handled, you do not need a lawyer to properly handle them, where you're using blue ink, you're getting them witnessed by the number of witnesses per your state. And if the state has no rules on witnesses, two, completely unrelated and not the end of life doula. Not family members, not anyone who has any say in the matter. And even as a doula, you're saying I'm completely independent. A family member can accuse you of influencing the decision. So with the witnesses, you want complete independence, and the notary, complete independence. Blue ink, proper witnesses, minimum of two, notarized, and now you have a legal document that stands up to court. A legal document. So checklist. So review with the client just to go on over their issues. Now, yes, this is 2 page, so you're seeing the back through as I'm looking at it. Essential documents. Part of this, if you work with anyone doing a living will, the client has to fill out the living will. I repeat, the client has to be the one filling out the living will, not you. You want to be very careful with that, not you. And then on the back end, but have a checklist. Give me one moment to not have the papers out of order. I'll put that in so I don't want to take too much of your time. So then what I have now is this is going to be different for your state, but I have the Kentucky Advanced Directives from Caring Info. So part of what you should be doing if you're helping your clients do living wills is you need to know your state directives inside and out. Inside and out. So for Kentucky, for example, when does this take effect? For example, the appointment of the surrogate, your power of attorney. When your doctor determines when you can't make decisions, that could be different for your state. Kentucky, what about limitations for the circuit? I know what I'm about to say is an unbelievable controversial statement, but it's law in Kentucky and a number of other states. If the person whose living will is applicable to is a woman, and that lady is pregnant, and she's in an incapacitated state, and the baby is viable, then certain things cannot be withheld from that biological mother until the baby is born. Again, I know that's controversial, but that's part of understanding your state documents. Part two, in terms of knowing your state documents in Kentucky, if you look at the back, it has an or clause. Two witnesses or notarized. Well, guess what? Two witnesses and notarized. If your state document gives the or clause, which means either or, you want it to be an and. I'm just sharing that with you. Again, you're going to run your business your way, but if you want to protect your client to the best of your abilities, you want to make sure they're doing it completely. But you want to know this inside and out. Now, if you've watched a previous video of mine, I shared with you a document. In fact, one moment, it's not too far from reach. I shared with you this. This was legal in Kentucky, but if you look at the Attorney General, this was a former Attorney General, not the current one. So I made a decision in terms of with doing the packet, I'm only going to do one living will for the state. I'm not going to give the client a choice. Now that sounds oxymoronic when I'm saying I'm all for freedom, but I don't want to create a choice where it can cause them harm. If they bring it up, I can say I'll email you the PDF file. But because that's not the current Attorney General, and on top of that, when I reviewed the form, it was limited for what to choose. It was beyond basic. This one, the most up to date from Caring Info, gives a lot of room to fill out and state addendum for this and addendum for that. I have and again, you're going to want your state, Kentucky DNR. And again, know this form for your state. For example, in Kentucky, and I'm reading from the back, my short-term memory is like this, but I do have it underlined on the copies. When does it apply? So you're talking about pre-hospital setting, patient homes, long-term care facilities, and it also mentions any adult can execute this order. This was news to me because I'm used to the POLST and MOST that must be signed by a doctor. Guess what? This doesn't need to be signed by a doctor. This doesn't need to be signed by a doctor. Now, again, you want to add power to it. You're gonna witness and notarize it, but you have it there. I went through. I like compassion and choices dementia directives. I did a lot of review. There's dementia-directives.org, dementia-directives.org. And if I'm filming right now, so if that comes up with a 404 page not found, it might be dementia-directive.org. The catch when I looked at their document, they're like, okay, if you have mild dementia, what would you like? If you have moderate dementia, what would you like? If you have advanced dementia, what would you like? Here's the catch when it comes to dementia. And I only know how to be blunt. Dementia is a progressive illness. Somebody who gets dementia is not going to stay mild. It's going to progress to moderate, to severe, to advanced. And yes, one could die at any portion of those pieces. But to me, I would rather have somebody have this filled out and they're comfortable filling it out because they're not overwhelmed by how many choices to make. So compassionate choices, their dementia document is literally a 2-pager. And it's very, very simple. So again, I would rather not overwhelmed. Then we have the mental health advance directives. And I did a lot of soul searching on which one to use because Washington Help has an extremely thorough document. Let me show you this before I go to that part. So you could actually choose your interventions, like put me in seclusion, isolation before you give restraints. And it's this is a simplified thing, but I know, I know, I should have had all of this pre-prepared. But this is Washington Help, Washington Law Help to be specific. I read this and reread this and reread this, and here's the catch I see, because you got to keep in mind, even if it's a legal document, depending on the situation, the court decides, not necessarily a judge. The start date for the mental health directive now, only if I can't make decisions for myself, parenthetical, if I'm incapacitated, and then under when these circumstances, symptoms, behaviors occur. So I want you to look at that. Well, who determines when you can't make decisions for yourself? Remember, I went back to Kentucky State, a doctor would make that decision for your surrogate. Why is that even more critical for mental health? Because for mental health, you could have a doctor who thinks you're not able to make decisions for yourself when you can, because we're not talking incapacitated coma. We're not talking incapacitated stroke where you have so severe aphasia no one can understand what you're even saying and you can't even write. We're talking they do a medical exam and they may say that you're in a state of psychosis, that you are incapacitated and cannot make sound decisions. What if they're wrong? Or what if you are completely incapacitated, but they're afraid to say it? I've had that with people who have dementia where doctors are afraid to sign off, to sign the paperwork to have their license removed. Family members are crying and screaming. They're going to get everybody killed. They're going to, or if no one's with them in the car, they're going to injure somebody. Doctors are afraid. So if you have somebody that's not able to do this or does it under the wrong circumstances, you could be hamstrung by their document. My opinion only. This is not legal, medical, etc. advice. But I was like, this is like 16 pages compared to the other one. I'm going to go with the keep it simple and smile approach versus the more complicated approach. Now, I did use Washington Helps because they are the only one that I could find where they have a document on voluntarily stopping eating and drinking. And one of the things that I really, appreciate on their document is they have a liability waiver. So one of the issues I've run into, because I've helped people execute voluntarily stopping eating and drinking, is the caregivers are going, could I get sued? What if a family member who wasn't in agreement for VSED says that I starved them to death? That's a real thing. So there's that. And then we're coming up on the landing zone, but I need to be thorough. So Kentucky has several power of attorney documents. There's this one, and it's very thorough for Keep in mind, for durable power of attorney, it's not just medical, but there's financial as well. Then they have a IRS Form 20A 100. It's multiple pages. And again, thoroughness, because the last thing that you want to do is, when the person cannot speak for themselves, is have somebody say, well, that form doesn't, that only handles XYZ. That's the last thing that you need, because then you end up in probate, or how long are things taking place? Kentucky has this. Kentucky has for power of attorney for transferring cars. Again, for your state might be different. What about children? One of the things I've been learning, taking Pam Carter, not, I don't believe she's related to Lindy, her life planning class through the International Life Movement, is when people are doing the living wills, even though they may involve their children in terms of adult children and children in terms of what decisions they're making, but when it comes to making sure that somebody has authority over them, that's a big thing. So Kentucky has this for being able to make decisions for school and medical for the children. It's a one pager. Now, I do include in my packet, we're almost done, even though it's not effective without a doctor's signature, I do have the Kentucky MOST. And part of the reason for that is, when I'm meeting somebody to do the living will, I may or may not know at the time of the meeting where they're at in their life journey. And part of the reason I have my contact information on those Avery shipping labels, and I'll include links in the description below, and the brochure and other factors, is I may be coming into their life when they can get that signed. Did you know that if you have a life-limiting illness, even you may not be hospice, you can ask your doctor to sign that? And you have the right to say, if your doctor's refusing, saying, you know, I'm paying you, I'm the customer. If you don't sign, I'm going to go somewhere else. You do have to use that judiciously. I know Pam and our entire class had had discussions in that area. I do believe it needs to be done from a judicious point of view, but it's something that, for lack of better words, if they're giving you a hard time with getting that form, you do need to advocate. And that's something that we as doulas can do for the people that we're serving. And so that's in my client packet for those with living will. And we'll see how this goes over time. And I'll be creating other packets as needed, but this is going to be the foundation. So what's on the left-hand side will most likely be in almost every packet. Please feel free to ask questions in the comments below. I do my best to be non-judgmental. This is a non-judgmental channel, and I appreciate helping anyone that I can. Thank you and bye.